Welcome everybody. I'm Jennifer Shahade, and today we have a very special guest. Well, he is my brother, International Master Greg Shahade. And today the subject is going to be really different from some of the classes that we've had recently. It is a class on opening preparation and also more specifically how to study on your own and how to study using your Blitz games. So while I continue introducing my brother, I'm actually going to put a little poll up to see where you guys are at with that. Since I know right now we're not really playing live tournament chess, so a lot of you are probably playing a lot of Blitz online. So I just put this poll up. Do you study your Blitz games played online? And I should also tell you a little bit more about my brother. He's a huge pain. No, seriously. He's an international master, and he is also the founder of the U.S. Chess School, which I think a couple of people here have attended some sessions for. And the founder of the Pro Chess League, which is a chess league hosted on chess.com with most of the best players in the world. Magnus Carlsen has played before, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. Most of the top players have frequented his events. So, Greg, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you. She made me cupcakes today, so
that's why he's doing the lesson.
That was exciting. Yeah, they're good. They're good cupcakes.
All right, great. So, we are getting our poll results in. I think as a co-host, Greg, you can see them.
Oh yeah,
right?
I can see the poll. All right.
So we've got a wide variety of responses here. Do you study your Blitz games played online? It's actually like almost split three ways, in that a third of you say, well, not quite a third, but so far it's almost 30, and that some of you study them every single game. Sometimes if it's an opening I'm unfamiliar with, and some say almost never unless it's a daily game or longer time control. Before Greg gives his philosophy, does anyone want to unmute themselves and explain their answer? You can use your Ananya. What do you say?
I would say the openings I'm unfamiliar with because with shorter time controls, like I make a lot of mistakes while playing. So like other than when I play on the board, like I don't make as much mistakes as that. So if it's really unfamiliar, like let's say the bird's opening, then I would study it.
Okay. Anybody have a different answer than Ananya and want to give their answer? Let's see. Let me look for my hand raising function. Oh, how about, I see a lot of people have their hands raised using the Zoom functionality. So I'll call on Violet.
I put that I analyze everyone. That's not entirely true. Like I always do the analyze thing on chess.com, go through my mistakes, but I don't like set up a board and like analyze.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I don't think Greg means to set up a chessboard. Greg, do you have
I don't have a chessboard. No. Don't have one of those anymore.
But Greg, why don't you, now that we've gotten a couple of answers, why don't you explain what your approach is to playing Blitz online and actually getting better at chess in general from it?
All right. So first, I'm a huge openings nerd, like giant nerd. I kind of stopped playing for like 8 years, which is a long time. And one problem when you stop playing chess at my level, like IM, GM level, when you stop playing chess for a really long time and then you come back and suddenly you don't know any openings and you're playing good people and they're just crushing. You get a bad position every game and you're playing a grandmaster. It's not fun. So I realized I had to figure out a way to learn my openings. The good news is because of the internet, there's a lot of great tools to learn your openings that didn't exist when I was playing more seriously 8 years ago. Because it was hard for me to memorize stuff, and now I'm like really good at memorizing openings using these tools. I study every Blitz game I play. I study the opening. What I do is every 5 games, I don't let myself play again until I've studied the opening. So like It'd be fun to play Blitz right now, but I still have a backlog of like a few games, and until I study those games, I don't allow myself to play chess. And it's really important because, so let's say you play in a tournament and you play an opening against somebody and you mess up and they win the game. You're going to learn a lot from that, right? Probably. I mean, I always learned a lot when situations like that would happen. But the problem is there's so many openings in chess. There's so many different things people can do. And tournament games, you don't really get to play that many of them. But Blitz, sometimes you can play like 20, 30, 40 games a day. Well, 40 is a lot. But I mean, you can play like 10 or 20 a day. And so it's kind of like learning openings at light speed. Like you get to make these mistakes in games that don't matter very much. And then you get to learn from them. And then when the games do matter, like when you're at nationals or some important tournament, you've already made the mistakes in Blitz. And then you can kind of like fix, you just more likely not to make a mistake in a game that matters. Does that make sense, Jen? Did I explain that all right?
Yeah, I think you did. And I think you wanted to show them Chessable a little bit later. I will say I asked them some questions in the Google form about Chessable, and some of them use that, some of them use Chessbase. But maybe you can start with showing them some examples of, you know, playing Blitz online and learning something because of it.
So yeah, like the first thing is, yes, my memory is all right, but like just, oh wait, how do I hide the notation? I'm gonna do that real quick. Simply just looking at a game and pressing the analyze function on chess.com, I think it's useful. Oh, I have to share my screen so nobody can see what I'm doing, right?
Not yet, yeah.
So like every game I play, I do usually do the analyze function just to see, but usually that's not enough to like make sure I remember something. Like, can I actually ask a question? Who here has learned some chess opening, studied it, and then forgotten it? You know? I mean, some people had their hands up, and then when I said forgotten it, their hands went down. So they have the genius memories that I don't have. It happens to me all the time. And so the trick is, what method can I use to make that stop happening? And now I have a very good method. It's not 100%, but it's very, very high. And I use this site Chessable, which is, there's other ways that you could do it. You can make flashcards or whatever, but the site Chessable online is like super, super good at making sure you never forget things. And it allows me to memorize more and more openings than I ever could before. So like, it doesn't feel overwhelming. Like it used to feel like this, like for example, let's just look at the Sicilian just as an example. Who here plays knight f3 and d4 against the Sicilian? So like after d6, d4. So some people do.
Coney says that she does in the chat.
Kelly
Chai, Shariah, Hertha, Leora, Sanvi, Clara, Sophia. And then you'll place a c3 Sicilian.
Exactly. And then there's other ways to play, like c3 or like bishop b5 check or the closed Sicilian, like knight c3 and f4 and stuff like that. But the main reason why most people don't play the open Sicilian is because it's so complicated. You have to know so many variations. They can start naming, what are the names of some types of Sicilians they can play against you if you go knight f3? The dragon is one of them. The Najdorf, those are like two really popular ones. Let's keep going. We got some more. They all have
Accelerated Dragon.
Scheveningen. The Paulsen is one too. I think the Paulsen and Taimanov are similar. Hyper accelerated dragon. What about the hyper accelerated dragon? The Kalashnikov. That's one that's really tricky opening. There's the classical, the Richter Rouser, the Khan, the Boulder Attack I've never heard of, but it sounds scary. There's a lot of them. And every single one of them, you have to know like a million different things. It's like, come on. So when I was lazy 8 years ago, I was like, there's no way I'm going to learn all this stuff. It's just too complicated. But now, because of the study methods I have, it's actually not too complicated, and I love it. And often I know more than my opponents in the openings. I'm sorry if we forgot some key Sicilians.
I think
So
we
like,
forgot no, I think we got most of them. The pin
but like,
variation.
yeah,
The pin
which
variation
one?
is
The
one.
pin, but nobody plays the pin. But the Kalashnikov's a good one. Oh, actually, did they even say Sveshnikov? Because the Sveshnikov's really good. Somebody said, teach me your methods. I will. I mean, mainly it's using the site Chessable. But what was the original question?
The original question was you were going to start showing some examples of Blitz
Oh
games
yeah,
that you
yeah.
played.
I'm gonna show a funny
Yeah.
game first. So I'm playing this game. This is just a 3-minute game on chess.com. Oh, we got a poll.
Just
Yeah,
asking
so
them what they play against the Carol Khan.
Oh, let's see. So I'm happy that so far there's not too many people playing the fantasy. I see 0. Don't press fantasy. Don't do it if you haven't voted yet. It's honestly, it's probably not that bad. I just, oh, there we go. We got 1 fantasy.
I remember somebody played the fantasy in the, I think it was Jeffrey Zhang. He played it in the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz, and
yeah, it's not too bad.
Yasser was not too afraid of it, though. He said that as a Carol Khan player, it did not strike fear into his bones.
Yeah, I think at this point, like, people know what to do against the fantasy.
Alice Dong asks, "What's the one with C4 called?" That's called the Pana Botvinnik. It's kind of a very, it's under the umbrella of the exchange, basically. So
Cool.
that's why I put that exchange variation there.
I'm a huge
Okay,
opening
so
nerd, like I said. Can I just say one thing about openings? So, like, I'm at certain level, like, openings are okay, and then at like higher levels, like, people just stop playing them because the computers have kind of figured out which openings are just not that good. Do y'all want to know? Because I mean, you may be sad if I tell you your opening's not that good at the higher level. What should I do? Should I tell them?
which one is not that good?
Well, there's a few that aren't. I mean, first of all, there's one that's widely considered the best variation against the Caro-Kann, or the most popular. However, there are other lines that are still pretty decent. The most popular one at the highest level is the advanced. But the 2 knights, I think, is kind of second place. And the exchange is not so bad, too. I think Magnus Carlsen played it recently. No, somebody played it against him. Li Rin Ding played it against Magnus Carlsen. But yeah, one thing, I really like to play good openings because all of you, you know, you may have really long careers in chess. And if you know an opening's not that great at the higher level, and one day you want to get to that higher level, you're going to have to switch your opening once you get there if you're not playing a good one now. So it's like you may waste some time learning something that you're going to have to change once you become, like, you know, masters and stuff like that.
I think that's a great point. Like, so basically saying, like, if you have a choice to pick like a opening that's respected or one that's not, just for the short term, you could have the same results. But then if you're still playing 5 years down the line, the cumulative effects of playing the better opening, you'll reap benefits from it. And I remember in my career, one counter example of this was, for a while, I was playing something called the Jinji Indian.
Yeah, me too. It's terrible.
You never heard of it, because let's just say it didn't stand the test of time. And when Greg and I were playing that, you guys were mostly not born. So Jinji Indian did not stand the test of time. It was a fun opening to play in Blitz, but it wasn't good. And I feel like for many years I struggled playing against D4, because those formative years where I could have been playing something good like the Slav or the Nimzo Indian or the Grunfeld, I was playing something that wasn't good, even when I wasn't as serious about the game.
Yeah, and you know, like, I wasted some time playing openings that I shouldn't have played. And one of them is very popular, but I don't think it's a great opening to play nowadays. I think you should, well, I'm not going to cause any trouble, though. I don't want to cause trouble. But I'm going to tell you, what I will do is tell you some good openings. Like, good openings for black against E4 are the Najdorf, You can play that, and you can play it for the rest of your life, and you'll be totally fine. The Sveshnikov is also good. You can play that for the rest of your life. You can play the Berlin defense. You can play like the Roy Lopez, the Marshall variation of the Roy Lopez. You can play that forever. I think the Caro-Kann is probably okay too. And even the French, but French is like playable too. But it's like a little sketchier. But Anish Giri did just make a course for it on Chessable.
So how did you end up playing? So you played the two knights variation
Sure, yeah.
against the Caro-Kann, and yet show us this game and like how.
Yeah, let's look at some actual chess, right?
Yeah, because they're gonna have a lot of general questions at the end.
All right. Let's do it. So this is a Blitz game, and this is funny. So I'm gonna just really quickly. I play Queen E2. It's a weird move because it looks like you should go knight takes knight, but for some reason this move is better. It does include a trap. What if they do this move? Who can tell me what white should do here? Knight D7, not a good move. Evie sees it.
Yes. A lot of people are saying in the chat.
Yeah, a bunch of people are saying it. Checkmate. Oh my God. Smothered mate. So nobody ever does that against me, unfortunately. They're so mean. And now, like, so it looks a little weird because white has developed the queen early. And usually you're not supposed to develop your queen so early. But it's actually not so bad here. Why is that? Well, you can't really attack it. Like the bishop can't go here, I'll take it. The pawn could go here, but that makes a giant weakness here, and it makes the king really weak. So the queen is actually stable in the middle of the board, and that means we have a knight developed and a queen developed, and black has nothing developed. So black actually tries to trade the queen. This is I'm sorry, they don't do that. They do this, trying to trade the queen. And now we play like a little bit of like tag. We don't want to trade queens, we run away. We don't want to trade because where is this pawn better, on c6 or on d5? And why?
Somebody want to answer that on
Yeah,
camera?
you can just type all it. You can just type.
Okay.
Better on d. Yeah, Vanessa said exactly the best explanation. Better on d5. It opens up the knight and the pawn is in the center. So it's much better in the center, and then the knight's coming to c6. So we don't want to trade that queen right there. We want to move it away. Now they go here, trying to trade queens again. Why would we, what would black gain if we trade the queen this time?
Development, says Amelie. Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of people are saying that black will get a free move to develop the bishop. So we run away again. Now, black could take this, but we get to develop a lot of pieces. It's very scary. And blacks only have the queen out. It's an interesting line to take the pawn, and white gets some attacking chances for it. But usually, but you know, my opponent didn't go queen f5. This is the main move. My opponent did something different. And after queen f5, they usually go queen e6, and now we really do trade queens. But we do it on our terms. And what did white gain from this queen trade? See, this time white's the one that gets something better.
Center pawn, says Violet and Evie. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. The pawn goes from the F file more towards the center. So it's an interesting little dance that the queens do. But my opponent played check first, which is very strange. It blocks the pawn, and I can just block with the bishop. And then they tried to trade queens this way. So now the question for you, what should white do here?
No, it's okay. They can chat it.
Yeah, chat it. Don't worry about it.
Sanvi got it.
Yeah, we do
As
have
did
one
Rowan and Lila.
Yeah, I mean, once you say somebody got it, they're just gonna copy the answer of the person who you said got it, right?
Yeah, I know.
They'll figure out that trick.
I think the first couple, it was like simultaneous almost.
Sure. No, I know. I believe you. I But yeah, it
Just
just
to show
blunders.
why that's a good move.
Queen takes F. Wait a second, I just lose my queen for nothing. But so we won a pawn, but we lost the queen. However, it's check. King moves away, and now we take the queen. And after they take, we take back with the bishop. We are up a pawn. Life is good. So I was playing this game. I'm not as smart as all of you. I played queen e3. I was like, if they take the g pawn, I get some good attacking chances. You know, the queen runs around a little bit. And then they play queen e6. They're trying to trade queens again. And I remember here, I played b3 again, and they took, and I got this like f pawn here. But even better is to go knight e5 and not trade queens. So I learned two things. I learned number one, take on f7 wins a pawn. Number two, knight e5, stopping the queen trade is good. And if they go f6, we can go bishop. We have this cool move, bishop g4. And if they take, we take. And what are we going to do next move? And they cannot stop it. They can't stop it. It's amazing. Yeah, we're going to take. There's nothing they can do. So usually after a blitz game, what I do is whenever my opponent makes a mistake in the opening, or whenever I make a mistake in the opening, I put it into my Chessable files. And what it does once it's in Chessable is like it starts to quiz you on it. So like I will be quizzed on it in one day. If I get it right, then it's like, okay, he knows this line. Then it quizzes me in 2 days. If I get it right again, it quizzes me in 4 days. If I get it right again, it quizzes me in 8 days. And it keeps doubling the amount of time it quizzes you. So like, the more you know it, the less you see it again.
What if you get it wrong? If you get it wrong,
if you get it wrong, all the way back to 1.
Okay.
All the way back to 1. And then it's 2, 4, 8, 16. Yeah. So what I did here, though, very, very disgraceful, Greg. What I did here, I was like, this opening is ridiculous. Nobody's ever going to play queen e6, queen g4. I don't need to make a flashcard out of this. Whatever. What do you all think happened 3 days later?
Anybody want to guess what happened 3 days later?
In a blitz game,
The same happened again.
Yep.
To you?
It happened again. And me, because I didn't do the work that I usually do, guess what I played here? Queen e3 again, yes. So, I mean, it was kind of embarrassing because you know why I played queen e3? Because I remembered the second part. I remembered that if queen e6, knight e5 was good. So I was like, oh, that's why queen g4 is bad. But no, queen g4 is really bad because of queen takes f7. So after that, after the second time it happened, what do you think I did? I put it in my Chessable flashcards. And now I will never forget this move again, ever. But think about it, I'm pretty good at chess, and I made the same mistake twice in 3 days because I didn't study the most efficient way for me. Now, maybe some of you have better memories sometimes and would see that. Like sometimes I'm going to remember it. I won't always forget it, but if I do the right things, I'll never forget it. And so I thought that was a funny but embarrassing example. On the plus side, I won in 6 moves anyway. So Jen, what do you think we should go from here? Do we want to go to another example? Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, let's go to another example.
Sure.
The next one we have teed up.
Nobody did play it again. This happened like a week ago, and it was actually the same player who played it against me twice, which it makes me sad because I was hoping there's like lots of people out there playing this terrible move, but it's just this one guy. And then as soon as I take on f7, the next time I play him, I'm going to take on f7, and he's going to learn, and I'm never going to see it again, and it's going to be sad.
So apparently he's not studying every single one of his Blitz games.
He's not studying.
That's a lesson there.
Same thing again. So third example, which one is this? Okay, so we're going to skip through the opening a little bit. And what I want to talk about is in openings, it's not just remembering like the exact moves, but there's common ideas that pop up that are really helpful to know. And you're going to see one in this opening. And it's like, if you don't know it already, it's going to be very hard to figure it out. So it requires work and study to even know the idea to begin with. But it all starts in this next position. No, not next. This position. It's white to move. And I believe you have a poll for them, Jen. Is that
Yes.
correct? So white to move, what is white's best plan? Should we share the results?
Yeah, sure. I'll show the results. You did it. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a common positional idea here. And that idea is to play on the queen side and get all of our pawns rolling. C4, B4, C5. And we get these beautiful pawns just rolling up the board. If we go C4, our plan is to move the knight, go B4, and then C5. But what can black do to kind of prevent that plan? Rowan says B6, Tanishka says B6, and B6 is correct. And then black will go B6. Black will also go A5 to stop B4. Let's say white tries to move the knight away to go B4. Black will go A5. And what square does black have now that belongs to them? That's very hard for white to kind of fight against. Lila says the correct answer, C5. And this knight on C5 will be beautiful from a positional standpoint. So we don't want to allow that. So the positional idea is that we first play knight A5. We're attacking the B pawn. If black plays B6 here, what's the problem? What idea does white have that's really annoying? Violet, a bunch of people are saying it right.
Pally, Chai, and Violet, I think, were the
They
first
all
two.
see. The knight comes to the beautiful outpost on C6, and the queen actually has to go to E8 to defend this bishop. So B6 is no good. So usually, well, this was how the game went. They played queen to C8. I went C4. They made some move. I went B4. They made some move. I went rook C1. What is my plan? What do I put that rook on C1 for? What's coming next? Somebody has a hand up. What was that? Yeah, I think I heard it. It's C5 is coming next, and it's very hard to stop. And, you know, black realizes they're in big trouble, so they're like kind of playing desperate moves to avoid C5, C6, everything like crushing through. But it crashes through anyway, eventually. Look at these beautiful pawns. Oh my gosh. And eventually these pawns are just too much to fight against. So basically the plan came true. You know, we want to push these pawns and everything happened perfectly. And I ended up winning this game with my passed pawns. I think I maybe... Oh, I did. What was the idea of this move? Interesting move. Sacrificing a bishop for a pawn, but what happens if they take it?
Then C6.
Yeah, you go C6 and then C7, and these pawns are just monsters. So that's how learning a key idea can be really helpful in openings. I do want to point out, though, that F4 is also a really interesting move because we're attacking this. We're opening the rook and the bishop, and if the bishop moves away to defend the pawn, what can white do here? Lure pawns. I like that. Yeah, Alicia, a bunch of people are saying it. F5, kicking the bishop away, taking this pawn. So instead, black, I think black can take is probably the best plan. And maybe if the bishop takes or the rook takes, we'll go bishop to G6. And black has gained something here that actually could be important. And what they've gained is the E5 square. So at some point, they could set up, let's say they could get a knight here. Let's say we go rook E1. Let's say black goes check. The king moves away, and then bishop F6. And the point is now black is going to try to occupy E5 with the knight or the bishop, and white has no pawns to kick it away. Now, I'm not saying black's is an amazing position or anything, and I definitely think F4 is a good move. It might not even be worse than knight A5 here. It might be also a very good plan. But the plan that I'm just more familiar with is knight to A5.
Yeah, and I think the difference is that like F4 is often a positional error. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Knight A5 is like an iconic idea that you can kind of like use in different positions. So it's useful to have
Yeah.
it. It's useful to have it in your database of ideas. I'm familiar with the Knight A5 idea from positions where there's already a pawn on B5, and then you're just like trying to sink a knight onto C6. But yeah, this kind of has a similar concept because it's not easy to defend B7. Do you want to show?
What's up?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I'm going to show, even G4 is okay, although I'm a little worried it like makes some weaknesses, but it's not like a terrible move for sure. But I want to show like why these ideas are important. It's because they come up in slightly different openings too. So let's say instead of doing what my opponent did in this game, they played like slightly differently. Now I look almost the same, but the other line, the bishop was still on the board. This time they took on D5 with the bishop. Rook C8. Anyone have any ideas here for white? Like, what is the move? Ray Robson, if you know who he is, he played the move Knight A5 here.
Yeah.
So the same concept with C4 and B4. It's a lot riskier here because white is 2 moves away from castling. So the king's still in the center. But Robson was playing a blitz match against somebody and just kept playing this move Knight A5. In fact, Rook C8 is not the most common move here. There's other moves that are much more popular, like G6 is the main move. But after Rook A8, yeah, it's an interesting idea. What's actually interesting is why after G6 they don't go here in this position. I can't tell you exactly why. But the point is, knowing this idea, Knight A5, C4, B4, it can be useful in a lot of different positions, not just the one that happened in the game.
Why don't we skip the next example, the French example, and go to the other Sicilian example? So this is from another Blitz game, obviously.
So yeah, I learned something here. So everyone goes Knight H5, and then I had a Blitz game like a few weeks ago where somebody went Knight E8. And it turns out it's just a bad move after F4. And I studied that. The first time somebody went Knight E8 against me, I didn't play F4. And what happens then is it's actually like pretty good for black because they end up going D5 and putting the knight on D6, which they can't do when the knight's on H5. So by studying every single game, I learn ideas that I would never, it's just really hard to learn otherwise. So I played F4. Now we have pressure on the D6 pawn. The knight on E8 is looking not great. And now black plays a typical idea in this position. They sacrifice a pawn, and they attack the C2 pawn. And now do you have a pole?
Yes. All right. So your pawn on C2 is attacked. So which move would you make to defend it?
Yeah, the knight and the bishop are attacking C2. So what should white do? Somebody said, why would you not move the bishop on F1? I mean, we could go bishop to D3, but black could take it, and we would have to double our pawns, and that would be kind of unpleasant.
Or you could even take on with the bishop and then play knight takes.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I mean, they both look very, very promising.
Jan, I don't like this class. This is the second time that everyone's playing the right move when I played the wrong move. I don't feel good about myself right now. They're all so mean.
Okay, there we go. We will stop the poll now. We got 57 out of 77. That's not bad.
Well, Mr. Shahade, you kept learning, so that matters more than just losing and winning.
Thank you. That's very inspirational. Oh wait, let me unshare these. So we can defend it 2 ways: knight to D4 or knight to A1. Let me ask you a simple question: is the knight more active on A1 or on D4 in the center of the board attacking the bishop on F5? Now don't forget, I am an international chess master and I played knight A1, so maybe it's good. So be careful. Be careful. You're all saying D4. But maybe my move's better. Nobody believes me. There we go. Anyanya stands by my answer. Unfortunately, though, it was not a good move. So it's funny, why did I go knight to A1? I got confused. There is one variation where you do go knight a1 to defend this pawn. So I turned off my brain. Usually a bad idea in Blitz. I was like, I don't need to think here. I know that when they attack this pawn, it's okay to put the knight in the corner. The knight in the corner is not a good place for the knight. But I did it. Knight to d4 is just crushing. Black is dead. Black is already down a pawn that they sacrificed. We're attacking the bishop. If they play bishop back to g6, how do we put even more pressure on that bishop? Who can tell me?
Yep, Rowan.
Oh, yeah, they're all getting it. h4, brilliant. And Black's in just big trouble. h5's coming. Position's terrible. But I went knight a1, and I lost. The reason why I did it, I will show you now, is because, like I said, knight h5 is the main move here. And let's say I do like the same kind of thing. And now they go bishop f5. What's the difference here? What's the difference? The pawn is on e5, right? So I can't go knight to d4. So basically, when I study these kinds of positions, I only studied them where knight d4 wasn't even possible. So without even thinking, I just put the knight on a1 right away. However, you always have to, keep an open mind and notice when something's different in the position. I didn't do that. I didn't think. It was a 3-minute game, so I have an excuse. But still, knight d4 is it's not the hardest move. I know the center is good. Knights in the rim are dim. Knights in the corner are terrible. So I should be, if I actually didn't learn that knight a1 move, I would play knight d4 every time. Because it's just a good move.
Some people are asking about knight takes d5 here. They're asking about if knight. I think that the few people
in
who
this
picked
position.
No, after bishop f5, knight d4, knight d5. I think the few people who picked.
This.
Yeah, I think they probably thought that Black had some continuation here, but the problem is you're still
Oh,
down a piece. If you take
I
on
don't see a follow up. If take.
Yeah.
Check, bishop to b5.
Mm-hmm. And you're
Um,
down a piece, and the knight on f5 super strong as well, hitting the e7 piece.
Yeah, I just took the knight on f5, or sorry, the bishop on f5, so it just doesn't quite work. The knight is awesome on d4. I should have put it there. Why weren't you all yelling at me to go knight d4 during this game? Where were you then?
That would be cheating. But seriously, has that ever happened to someone that you studied something and then you turned your brain off when you were executing and it was actually the different position? It's definitely happened to me. It's happened to me, I think, in end games also. You think it's a Lucina position, but it's not. It's a little bit different. Or you have an easier way to win, but because you studied the Lucina, you try to make it that. Lots of stuff, lots of applications in chess.
The key lesson is don't turn off your brain. Brain's very important, and always, small differences in positions can make a big difference. And in this case, just the pawn not being on e5, I'm just winning. I'm just crushing them after knight to d4. They're just down a pawn, terrible position. So yeah, I thought this was interesting. Jen, what do you want me to go to now?
I think we can do the Abby and Fabi thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this isn't exactly opening preparation, but it's interesting.
So this next game doesn't feature Greg. It features a player called Abby Marshall. I'm going to ask you if any of you know what tournament she's best known for winning. It's going to be a poll, so don't mention in the chat. Answer the poll instead as Greg pulls it up. Are right. Okay, I'm going to stop the poll and share the results. And you guys are right. You know a little bit of your chess history. Abby won the Denker Tournament of High School Champions. She was the first girl to do so about 10 years ago. Actually, somebody else recently tied for first, Emily Nguyen. The U.S. Junior Open was actually one that I was the first female to win long time ago. National High School Championships, females never won yet. U.S. Junior closed, not yet. National Junior High has been done by Maggie Fang. So the two that haven't been done yet, I'm counting on you guys in the call. No pressure though.
You're all gonna tie for first. 77-way tie for first place. I'm very excited about it.
77. I don't know. All right, so this is from Abby's Denker win, I think.
Oh yeah. So this is actually, I thought this was a tough move to find. Like I had my computer engine on, like analyzing her game, and it's just like Black's winning. It tells me Black's winning here. I'm like, what? Why? I don't understand. How can Black be winning in this position? But Black has a really good move here. Can anyone find it?
And don't write it in the chat right away. Either chat me privately or raise your hand. A couple people are chatting me privately. Nobody's gotten it yet.
Yeah, it's like, it's funny because it's simple, but it's hard, which is weird. But I remember thinking this was like Abby missed it, like straight up missed it. And she's a good player. She's like 2,100 at the time, maybe. And I was a little confused by it, but it's actually really, it's like should be easy, but there's something about this pattern that's not common.
Yeah, it's not common, exactly.
Not common at all.
Nobody's gotten it yet.
I told you it's hard. I'm gonna give you a hint. Black.
Okay, I got one person got it.
Oh yeah, who's the winner?
One person. I think let's see. Yeah, well, Rowan had the idea, I think, initially. Rowan, what was your plan after queen takes d2?
So after queen takes d2, you can play bishop a5, and they can't do anything about that.
Exactly. So that knight takes d2, either minor piece that you take with d4 loses a pawn, and if queen takes, there's bishop a5. I think this is hard because normally there'd be an in-between move like bishop takes c6 check, maybe, or bishop takes c6.
Yeah, what happens if they take on c6 first?
Yeah, Tori said correctly, knight takes f3 check, counter in-between move, and white is just going to be down a whole piece.
Extra bishop, yeah. Extra bishop. What happens if white takes with a knight? Black can take on d4, free pawn. If white takes with the bishop, black can take on d4. Although, hold on. What if knight takes, bishop takes, bishop to b4, attacking the rook, and the queen is attacking the bishop? What can black do here?
c5, says Evie.
C5, there's actually even, c5 is good. I think there's even a better move, maybe? Yeah, and some people are seeing the better move. I think they're both really good.
Alicia and Michelle both suggested bishop f2.
My plan was to go c5, and then I saw the other one after. Like after I asked the question, which is queen h4 check. Followed by queen takes bishop. And just to be, well, white does get one pawn back, or do they?
Do they?
Do they? Do we take the b pawn, or do we do something better? Yeah, the bishop and the queen are in unfortunate spots. c6.
Yep. c6, lots of people getting it right. Excellent, Tori. Okay, so
just a cool little sequence. So white can't take with the bishop or the knight. If they take with the queen, we have this really cool skewer, bishop to a5. When the queen moves, we win the exchange. So it's kind of a weird tactic because usually you don't see like a bishop coming here and skewering a queen and the rook early in the game. And when I would give these, when people would come to my camps, I would go over their games. I would make training positions out of them and show them to future students. And so I'd seen this position a million times. This tactic was like at the top of, it's in my brain, is sitting there floating around, waiting for somebody else to let me do it. Should I go to the next game?
Yeah, so the next game's against a very well-known player, and I'm going to ask you what he's best known for. So this one is featuring Fabiano Caruana.
Be careful. This is somebody already got it wrong. There we go.
I think Juga sang a song about him. I mean, Huga.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Talk about it in her class. Oh, Caruana Onana.
Yeah, instead of Havana Onana.
Yes. Yeah. Who said that? Who was unmuted? I didn't hear your name.
Shreya.
Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of them are getting it right. Getting it right.
Some of them are getting it wrong.
So anyway, of course all of the answers are correct in reality.
I'm going to tell you the right answer is losing a game to Greg Shahade. That's why he's most famous. But this was a game I had against him, titled Tuesday, like about a month ago. And see if anything's familiar. So first of all, I've studied this opening pretty well, so I knew like where my pieces belonged. But that's not the key thing. So now he goes and grabs the center. And you know what's really funny here? I learned this from another key moment, a key game that I studied too. This idea that when they go d4, you take and you go d5. And if they go e5, you sacrifice the pawn. He didn't take it. And you have really good control over the light squares. And it's worth it to sacrifice the pawn. If they move the rook away, we win the d-pawn. So there's a second example of what I learned to use in this game against Fabiano from a game that was played by Tomaszewski like 10 years ago. Shirov versus Tomaszewski, I think it was. And this worked well because I put my knight in the center and he didn't take it. He played bishop to e3. He let me double his pawns. I was like, okay. I opened the F file, move the king away, I double my rooks, queen d2. And it's just a 3-minute game. So it's easy to miss things unless they're really floating around in your brain. And tell me all how you would beat Fabiano here and win some material against the number 2 player in the world. And people are seeing it.
I think I saw this video, like they were commentating on it.
They were. It was a great video.
Did they miss this? Did they miss this?
Yeah, so that's why this tactic is not so simple. The number 2 player in the world missed it.
Oh my God.
Oh, gee, right? And if I hadn't seen that game with Abby Marshall 10 years before and like studied it, maybe I would have missed it too. Maybe I would have like been triple on the file, or put my rook in some pretty square, or maybe try to sneak my knight over to c4. But no, I saw this. I won the exchange, and I actually was able to win the game. It got close, but I did win.
Yeah, so that was a really great and informative lesson, Greg. As traditional in this group, we always let the kids ask a few questions. So this is your chance, guys. Who wants to ask a question? Show Chessable while I'm pulling this up. Now Greg is showing you Chessable, so you want to give them a little bit of a explanation of what you're doing right now?
Oh, I mean, just like it shows you I have like 1,000 different variations saved, and I'm adding new ones all the time, and it just shows me the ones that are due to be shown, basically. So this one I've seen like a few days ago. I already had a good blitz game in it. G6. So it's just kind of like helps me remember my stuff. And so like I see it so many times that it just becomes really easy. I can't remember. Do I go king b1 or do I go g5 and rook g1 here? Does anyone remember? I'm gonna try this. Oh my God, it's king b1. Next is rook g1, g5. So while people ask questions, I can just do this while they're asking.
Yeah, so I'm gonna let Alyssa and Jocelyn ask the first question.
I think what's cool is this is the kind of position we already saw, because d5 bishop, it's like the same line. What was the question?
Alyssa and Jocelyn, I'm unmuting you guys.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so are you and Jen competitive when it comes to chess?
How do you mean by competitive? Like, do we like trash talk or get mad? Like, do I cry when she beats me, or? Yeah, I do cry a lot. I do. I have a lot of tissues in the house just in case.
What about you guys?
What's that? We've played a lot. We played a lot more when we were younger, and we were living in the same house, and we had chess sets, and we played a lot of speed chess. We actually played in a bunch of tournaments before. We've drawn every game, right?
Yeah, but they weren't like most of them. They weren't prearranged draws,
They
right? Like,
weren't. Yeah, there was like
no.
one or two that maybe were, but like a few of them, like I was higher rated than her, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna beat her, and I didn't beat her. But I didn't lose. At least I didn't lose.
All right. Next question, Alyssa, Jocelyn. You got to tell me what you guys have to answer about that question. Tara, I got that right. Tara, right?
Yeah. So I was wondering how evenly were you matched when you were like playing when you were younger?
Well, I mean, I'm 2 years older, right? So it makes sense that I would be like higher rated. And also, Jen became serious about chess a little later than me. So I think when I was a master, she was maybe like 1500 or 1400. But then, so then I went up to like, but she like jumped big. So I got up to like 2400. And then, like, in that same period where I gained 200 points, I think she went all the way up to 2200, right?
Yeah, so we
So
had a
we were never,
very different learning curves, which I have talked about in previous classes. That not every Greg was very quick with chess and kind of shot up right away. I had a lot more of not really zigzags, just like plateaus, I guess.
I think I
Um,
played more when I was younger too, like much younger.
and I think everybody, by the way, everybody hit plateaus. The hard thing is when you hit a plateau really early, sometimes you just give up and stop. Like if you like really get better quickly and then you hit a plateau, sometimes you're kind of deep enough in it that you keep going. But I actually hit my plateau kind of early. So that was a bit of a negative for me. Luckily I stuck with it. Otherwise I wouldn't be with you guys today. Alyssa and Jocelyn, you wanted to follow up and tell me how you guys play if you
We're sometimes competitive, but Jocelyn's mostly the one that gets sad if I beat her.
Oh, okay. Okay. Elizabeth, some tissues in that house as well.
But if like Layla beats me, then I'm kind of sad.
Um, what kind of food do you eat before a tournament?
That's a question for me. What kind of food do I eat before like a round or before a game or before a whole tournament?
A whole tournament.
A whole tournament? But like I also have to eat during the tournament. So I don't know before a tournament, but like one tough thing in tournaments is like you often don't have much choice. Like if you're at you don't want to eat too much and then feel like not good during the game and like just I don't want to eat too much and I don't want to eat too little. I don't think it even matters so much what you eat. It probably, and I think kids have different reactions to food than adults do. So like when I was a kid, I could eat like pizza without feeling weird, like lots of pizza and hamburgers and just blah, blah, blah. And now if I do that, I'm going to feel terrible and it's going to make me play worse. But you shouldn't eat like so much that you might feel sick. But you shouldn't eat so little that you're going to be hungry during the game. But maybe you should, I don't know. I think bringing a small snack to the game too is good, like some chocolate, some little fruit, stuff like that.
All right, great. I love that question. Elizabeth asks it a lot. It's awesome.
Oh,
Zara,
yeah.
you're up.
Okay, so I have a question for like the both of you and all. Like, when you guys like first both start playing chess and you guys played against each other, how would you feel if like the other sibling beat the other, like when you were younger and all?
Who should answer first?
She asked when we started playing
Well,
and
I heard the question. I mean, she says for both of us. So who should go first, you or me?
you because I didn't hear it as well.
Okay. I think like we lived together. We played so many games against each other, like hundreds and hundreds and thousands. So like eventually you get used to the idea that sometimes you're going to lose. I think it's one thing that's great about chess is you eventually learn you're not going to win all the time, and you have to learn how to take a loss against anyone, including your family members. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean it's not a bad thing to lose sometimes. When you do lose, you can just learn from it. So I don't remember like being too upset losing to you.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Although, yeah, we didn't play in any like, super significant situations like, the national high school championship for the title or something. But Yeah. Oh, there was one game. Like I was streaming, and it was like one of my first streams, and I had just won a
yeah.
poker tournament. And
I remember.
and I was playing the tournament and playing Greg in chess at the same time, and I was crushing him in the chess too. And my audience was so hyped, and then I blundered, and my audience was like devastated, and I was too.
I'm sorry.
It was so sad. That was like only 6 months ago too. I do remember that game.
Oh,
That
I
was
didn't mean to do that. Sorry.
so sad.
I mouse slipped on my Chessable. What?
Okay, next up, we got a couple other people who have questions. Marissa, Philadelphia, Masterman.
Wait, what's that?
So I was wondering, this is kind of for the both of you. So, Jen, I know that you've said before that you like stopped playing chess like in 7th and 8th grade around, and I was wondering, when you stopped, and I'm assuming Greg, you did not stop playing.
You stopped? What do you mean by you stopped? Jen,
I stopped playing for like 2 years. Yeah, mostly.
Oh, but like serious. But you would still go to chess camps and play occasionally, just not super serious. Is that what you mean?
I feel like I stopped. Maybe my memory is is that I stopped for like 1 year, but
I think you didn't just weren't as serious. But sorry, go on.
So I was wondering, like, how did that like change the way you guys were? I don't know how to like how it changed you guys like practicing together, and like if it changed how Greg you like played. I don't know, not having your sibling there with you all the time.
Well, the thing is, when we were that young, I was like, around that time, I was much higher rated than she was. So we didn't train together until she got to like 2200. And then like we were both like really around the same, kind of level. So I don't think it affected me too much. And she would still be at some tournament. Like I know she would go to the chess camp every summer, right? I mean, more to like hang out and make friends. But you were still pretty... I always thought, you always seemed like you were like pretty talented player. Even when you were like, maybe your rating was 1300, but sometimes you would play some really good games, and then somehow you put it all together over the years.
Yeah, great question, Marisa. Though I really like that.
Yeah.
Let me get a question from.
Did you say she goes to Masterman?
Yeah, she goes to Masterman, right,
Whoa,
Marissa?
amazing.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
Marissa,
I do.
And there's another girl who sometimes comes from Masterman, Anastasia, right? I don't think she's here tonight, though. Bernice, what about you? Your question. Here you are. Let me unmute you.
What's Greg Shahade's name on the chess?
On which site?
On
it's
Chess.
Greg, in every site, my name is Greg Shahade. So you can just first name, last name.
And on chess.com?
Greg Shahade.
Greg Shahade. I'll type it in the
same
chat.
everywhere. So it's very easy to recognize me.
Just like me, Jen. Just like I'm Jen Shahade. Okay, Zoe, you're up.
Are you good at poker?
Yeah, I'm pretty good at poker. Yeah. I used to play a lot of poker.
Yeah, Greg used to play a lot of. We like to play a lot of different games. I mean, that's the thing about chess. If you get good at chess, a lot of times it's easier for you to get good at other games because there's a lot of similarity, and also other subjects. It can go both ways, because if you're good at chess, you might spend a lot of time on it, so that could take away. But if you learn how to study something and get better at it, like Greg is doing with Chessable, imagine how significant that could be for, studying for med school or anything that you're doing seriously in life. But great question. Let's see. Another question. Evie asks, should I create a Chessable account, and how do I do it?
You just go to chessable.com and you just sign up. I don't remember exactly how it works. I'm going to be honest though. So learning how to, did I talk about how learning to study on your own is like really important?
Yeah. You didn't really.
Oh, I didn't. So like one thing that's really it separates like the super great player, like the really great players is the ones. So a lot of you probably have coaches, and you get lessons. Some of you do, some of you don't. But what's really important is to learn the best ways to study on your own. And that's a skill. Like that's like learning how to play an open. It's a really important skill in chess and in life. Like even in school, like learning the best way to study for a test. And in chess, there's a lot of technology that's really new and not so easy to learn. Like it could even take a while to get good at it. Just like it takes a while to get good at chess, it could take a year, 2 or 3 years to learn how to study chess properly. Like there's these tools like Chessable, Chessbase, how do you use chess.com the best? There's videos to watch online. Which ones are good? Which ones aren't? Which books are good? Which ones aren't? And so, yeah, I think you should check out Chessable, and I think it's a great tool, but it's not so great. It's not so easy that you'll just log on and be able to use it perfectly. It will take a lot of practice. It took me months to figure out how to use it best. But, you know, as long as you do that work and really are motivated, it could pay off big time. But I just want to warn everyone, it's not easy. That's all.
We're about to wrap up because it's almost 7:15, but I just wanted to take a couple more questions. Sujana asks, if you ever come across chess cheating. I mean, I'm going to ask that for you. Absolutely, especially at a high blitz level like Greg, he's definitely going to come across it a lot. Lower in the ratings, you don't come across it as much. But luckily, the websites have a lot of measures to catch cheaters. So that's good. Even if they're cheating against you now, they'll likely get caught and you'll get refunded your rating points. Sharia, do you want to ask one question?
Yeah, so my question was, I actually have two, but they're really quick. Do you have any tips for like time pressure? I mean, like, like for Blitz, like when you're under time pressure.
Well, in Blitz, time pressure is different than regular tournament time pressure.
And regular, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in Blitz, you just have to like play a lot of it. And what you have to do is make a goal where the only thing that matters is to not lose on time. Maybe you'll play some bad moves, but in Blitz especially, that's like easier to do. So you just focus on your clock. One thing I did when I was younger is like, let's say it's a 3-minute game. I would pretend that I only had 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
I'm not saying that's the best way to do it, but like there's certain tricks you can lose. If you keep losing on time in speed chess, you just have to move faster. It's the most important thing to get better at speed chess.
Okay.
Now in tournament play, it's still similar. Our first thing everyone should do, and I believe you're allowed to do it, is you should write down your time after every single move. That way you can analyze it at home and figure out the moves where you spend a lot of time. You can be like, should I have spent this much time here? And, you know, you can answer honestly. And you can show to your coach also, if you have a coach, that like, hey, I spent 20 minutes in this position deciding which rook to put on E1, the H rook or the A rook. And usually when you have a choice like that, you don't need to spend 20 minutes. So it's really important early in the game when Coach Gregory Kaidanov once told me, he's a great Russian coach, is like, you have to figure out how important a move is. So like, look at this position on the board right now on my screen. How important is Black's move here?
And
I'll explain after what the right answer is. Is it very important or not very important? Which one would you think?
I mean, the position looks equal right now, so maybe I don't think there's any threat or attacks or anything, so I think that it doesn't really matter. I mean, you could develop, but it doesn't really affect your position.
Well, every position matters, but you're right. There's not any threats, there's no tactics, so it's not super important. So this is not a position where you should spend 15 minutes. You can spend maybe 2 minutes, but if you spend a lot of time in a position like this, you're going to get in time trouble for sure, because then when the position really is complicated, you're going to spend even more time. So
Yeah.
you have to kind of be alert to the positions where you're spending time where you shouldn't. And then to do that, you have to write your time down every
Okay.
move and pay attention to it after the game when you analyze it.
Great question, Sharia, and great answer,
Yeah,
Greg.
great question.
Keela,
Thank you.
Kayla,
Yeah?
right?
Yeah.
Kayla.
Kayla.
Okay.
What got you interested in chess?
Well, our dad was a very serious player. He was 4-time state champion. Our mom liked to play too, and they would have Blitz tournaments. Like my dad would invite all the best players in the city over to our house to play Blitz. So when I'm a 5-year-old child, and there's all these good players around me playing chess. So that really helped. Oh, and then another thing that really helped is so when I was in school, I guess it was like 4th grade. I was a pretty smart kid, but like I didn't feel like it was anything like super. Okay, I was good at math, but there wasn't anything super special about me. And then one day I went to the chess club, and this is like kindergarten to 8th grade, and I had played some at home, so I was already decent, but I didn't have a rating yet. And I went into that chess club, and I beat everybody there. They just all lined up, and I just beat them all one by one, all the 8th graders, all the 7th graders. And they were like, wow, who is this person? And that made me really like chess, because now I felt like this really special, talented person. So once I had that experience, I started to get really serious, and we started to play tournaments. I think I was in 4th grade. So that's my story.
Speaking of confidence, I actually had a similar story. I wasn't as good at Greg at chess right away, like I've talked about previously, but I do remember like that it really helped me with feeling confident about my intelligence, especially in crowds without chess players. Because even if like I wasn't as smart in one thing or the other, like didn't know as much about X, I always had this feeling that I had a special set of skills and brain skills that I never really felt dumb. As Magnus Carlsen famously said, there's this myth out there that all chess players are smart. I don't think it's true, but let's let them keep thinking that, as it's not the worst reputation that we could have. So speaking of confidence, we're going to be talking about confidence in the workshop on Saturday. So hope some of you guys will come to that. And thank you guys for all the great questions. I mean, Greg, I think has been educational from everyone. To me, we also had Alice Dong, who's about 2,100 in the class earlier as well, to people who are just starting out. So I think you did a really great job of speaking to all levels.
Who, me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you.
Well, everybody said they enjoyed it. So have a great night, everyone.
I enjoyed it too.
And thanks again to our
Bye.
special
Thank
guest.
you.
Thank you all for being here.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
I just wanted to say to Mr. Shahade that your sister's club/class or classes are the most amazingest, most fun, like the most fun and the most friendliest class I ever had.
Aww, thank you so much, Siri. We love having you here.
And you're all very friendly to me too, so that must be true.
Okay, thanks for this awesome chance. Bye.
Thank you for being here. Bye.
That's so sweet.